On this episode of the Late Night Startup Show, we were speaking with Tony DeSantis, owner of Sidecar Press, where you can get live custom printed t-shirts from the sidecar of his Harley Davidson. But first, we'd like to thank our sponsors, RCR Video Marketing Group, an Atlanta-based multifaceted video production company creating compelling content to fast-forward your business, and Digits in Motion. Digits in Motion is a full-stack digital agency specializing in mobile app development and custom software solutions for startups and enterprises. Whether you need to augment your existing staff for a bigger project or help creating a new product from the ground up, contact Digits in Motion today to help grow your business. And AmazonUPCBarcodes.com. If you're new to selling products on Amazon, check out AmazonUPCBarcodes.com. They're the #1 source for UPC and EAN barcodes online. All of their barcodes are GS1 verified, and you can use coupon code RCR Video to get 10% off your entire purchase at AmazonUPCBarcodes.com. Let's get into the show. Tony, thank you so much for letting us come into your shop and see your space. The motorcycle obviously is like just amazing. It's awesome. And just to give some context around like how we met to the audience, my wife and I met you at the Ormwood Festival. You were there with your bike, printing shirts like this awesome America shirt. If you're listening to the audio podcast, I have this very comfortable shirt on that says America. And it's just, I don't know. I saw it and I had to have it. Like I searched through all your other designs, which were absolutely amazing. I was like, I got to have that shirt. I have to have it. So thank you so much for printing this. But, you know, as soon as we met, I thought you had such an interesting, unique business. And I was like, this is the essence of our show. It's like, this is something so unique that if someone is just sitting there having a beer on a Friday night and they come up with this idea, by Saturday morning, they would have 10,000 reasons of why it wouldn't work. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you have just taken it and like expanded it and are doing it for like the last year, right?
Last 2 years.
The last 2 years? Okay.
Yeah.
So just take us back to like where the idea came from and how you started and why you started it.
So first off, it's an honor for you guys to be here, and I so appreciate you guys coming out. So it started off at a printmaking conference, and I had this unworldly idea to bring printmaking in a mobile way and like print not just t-shirts but posters as well in an unusual environment. Mm-hmm. So I had a motorcycle throughout college, and that was like my favorite mode of transportation, and I just, you know, I loved motors and I loved being around cars, and then I really wanted to combine the two. Mm-hmm. And on the way home from that conference, I started like talking to my friend about concepts about how can I get a printing press on a motorcycle? Like, how could that come together? Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, I just thought of like having a sidecar and putting my puppy in there and going on adventures. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to put a printing press in a sidecar and drive around on adventures. And
have you ever driven a bike with a sidecar before?
No. I drove out to Oklahoma City like as soon as I graduated, and out there they have a sidecar manufacturer, and I just picked one up and came right back and put it on. Wow. And from there I started fabricating, learning how to weld, and then built a frame so I could connect the two. And now I just adventure every weekend and go have fun with 3 wheels.
And just so we know, it's completely street legal. Like you drive to festivals and wherever you want to print shirts.
Yeah, I was out today in Peachtree City, so I drive that thing everywhere I go.
Yeah, it's so amazing. I mean, just the look of it, like when my wife and I walked into the festival and I was like, this looks so cool. And then like we just got to know you, printed me this shirt. I was like, this is so awesome. I love it. It's like such a great idea.
Appreciate it.
And, you know, how has it been the first 2 years? Have you been super successful? Has it been slow, gradual climb?
It's definitely been a challenge. Mm-hmm. First off, just to believe in yourself and know that what you're doing is no one's going to grasp the concept because they haven't seen it before. Yeah. So it's been a challenge to believe in myself. But in that regard, when people see it, they just, are ecstatic to see it. So I definitely would say it's taken a really good start from the beginning.
So is it like the same emotion every time? Because I assume when you go to these festivals, the majority of the people there don't know Sidecar Press Co. and they've never seen it.
Yeah.
So it's like, say you're in 4 festivals in a month, one every weekend. Is it the same customer coming up? Kind of like my wife and I did, like, wow, this is cool, this is unique. Is it that every time, or are people starting to get to know your business and your brand a little bit?
Personally, I get excited when someone comes up.
Yeah.
But yes, it's definitely a mix. Some people are like, what is happening right here? And I'm like, I'm printing t-shirts. And they're like, their eyes just open right up. And then, there's also a lot of people that just see it and just go, oh my gosh, I used to print in high school. How did you do this? And I'm like, well, I just had an idea and put it together.
Well, it's a whole art form in and of itself too, because you're actually like carving out the designs on wood, right?
Yeah, they're all hand carved designs, and I have a few of like special artists from my coworkers. I've done a few designs, but yeah, it's all hand carved woodcuts.
How long does that process take?
Takes about a week for like an 8.5 by 11 image.
And that's after you've already drawn and come up with the design.
Right. Yeah. Wow. It's, like 2 hours here, 2 hours there to just sit there and carve. And it's really a meditative process to like sit there and watch the wood flake away and just peel up.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, the part that I fell in love with when I was in school. So I learned that in school, and as soon as I just like had my first print completed, and I didn't understand it at first, and how it flips, the image flips when you print it, but that in itself is so satisfying to me.
Still to this day.
Definitely. Yeah. I just finished this new one. I wanted to print one for you guys, and as soon as I printed it this morning to get a test, I was like, oh yeah, he's going to love this. Like, I always get excited for a new project.
That's awesome. I mean, I think that's something you have to have. Like,
to keep you
any
circulating. And
business or entrepreneur, like it's easy to go into something you're passionate about, and then within the first year and a half, kind of lose focus on it or not have that passion. So, I mean, how are you keeping it fresh though? I mean, I know you like the designing, you like carving and coming up with these drawings, which I guess they're drawings, right?
Right.
And transferring those to the wood to be printed onto the shirts. Does it ever get repetitive, or do you ever think, what's next?
I always try and push myself in technique. Like, I'm always trying to one up myself in that. So each time I want to make the next one better, more detailed, maybe less detailed, but a better image.
Yeah.
More eye-catching. I always trying to do something different. And I think that's what keeps me going, is like having new ways to carve and finding new outcomes when you finish the carving. So it's like different line strokes create different thicknesses, and then different chisels create different markings on the wood. So you get a different image out of using a different chisel. So I always try and expand on that. And
so there's so many different like combinations of
right
chisels and stuff you can use to create something different each and every time.
Right. Yeah. I always try and make it a little dynamic.
Yeah. But does that affect your ability to be able to kind of, customize or mass produce for like a client per se? Or do you have like at any given time 6 or 7 designs that you kind of pump out and sell?
Typically, I'll work with the client and see what they want and see what they have in mind. Yeah. If they want a custom t-shirt, I'll definitely be able to come up with an image for them. Or if they have an image already prepared, I can just transfer that image right on the piece of wood and get their image exactly how they want it. But typically I do a lot of my own stuff as well, and I'll bring both designs. So I'll have a variety.
Yeah. That's awesome. So growing up and going through school, did you know you were going to own your own company? I mean, not necessarily design company or a t-shirt company, but
I didn't know it was going to be t-shirts.
But you always had that entrepreneur.
Yeah, I originally I had 4 years of engineering school in high school. Throughout high school, I was in engineering class, and I'd always wanted to be some sort of engineer, like design skate parks or engines or something of that nature. And I kind of fled from that idea as soon as I found art.
Yeah.
And art was just a lot more freeing.
So how did you find art?
I guess also in high school, like I had drawn since I could remember. Since I was 6, I'd been drawing, and I loved, just pencil on paper and just sketches. And I would draw like Dragon Ball Z characters way back in the day, and then it, eventually progressed into making my own art, and so that drives me to be successful, is to find something new that people want to see in that realm, like in the art field.
And did you go to art school or?
Yes.
Okay.
So I went to Kennesaw State.
Okay.
For graphic design.
Yeah, I know some people that went there.
So,
So you knew once you graduated college that you were going to have your own business at some point.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I like to believe that that's where I was in my life.
Yeah.
And I have to say, like 2 days before my first event with Sidecar Press, I was freaking out. Like I was like, I can't do this. I can't. This is not
really.
This is not me. I was like, and then I just snapped out. I was like, get it together. This is it.
So were you freaking out because the business side of things seemed scary, or where do you think that freak out came?
I guess the pressure to bring something new to the table, and I didn't know how people were going to take that. Is how the viewer sees it, and that's what I was afraid of.
Yeah.
But now that I've like broken that threshold, it's like, okay, just stand up there and know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's what is really cool about it, because people just are so intrigued by what it is.
Yeah.
So
let's say someone has their own company and it's launch day and it's 2 days before, and they aren't freaking out. They're not nervous, or they're not even, the night before, they don't feel really anything.
Yeah.
They're just going to the launch. Do you think they really care? Or did your freak out solidify it for you that this is where my passion is?
No, that's another side, like being overly prepared. And that's great. Like you can never be more prepared.
Yeah.
So it brought me to realize that it is coming together. And like, I'm the only one to do this, so I have to do it.
Yeah.
Like it's like a message from the Lord that I have to do this because I have this idea and no one else can do this except for me. And that's what drove me to keep on going and to keep on progressing with it.
So at that point, you kind of felt obligated to go through with it.
I mean,
out there.
For myself, definitely. Definitely.
So you go through your first day. How did that look?
It was
during that first day?
Like a major success. Like,
really?
Yeah. And I don't know why I was so freaked out. And so,
did you have kind of a
edge.
predetermined number that, if I sell this many shirts, this is what I'm going to consider as a successful day? Or were you just kind of like going about the day and feeling the emotion of that day?
Somewhat of both. I didn't have any expectation. And I think that could ruin a lot of the days if you have a high expectation. Yeah. But I definitely had goals. I wanted to reach out to people and show them because there were definitely a few faces that I had to have them see it. Yeah. So there were goals set, and it wasn't necessarily a numerical goal. But over the years of doing this, there's definitely been goals set for numerics, and like I have to sell 30 t-shirts today or else I'm not, it's not worth my time. But there's always those days that are kind of slow, and you just accept it because you're getting your name out there and people are seeing you and they're loving what you're doing. So,
well, you said you didn't have really any expectations, but you had goals. Well, what would be your definition of the difference between those?
Like if you were to expect to sell and make $1,000 in a day, and you expect to sell 50 t-shirts because that's what you want to do, and you need that money, for prior obligations, or that's what you are desiring. But I set goals to push myself. So the expectation is less of a, hinder on the back, like weighing you down. But the goal is something to keep you going and something to keep you progressing and reach out to more people and see what other people are doing and invite them and, share with what you have.
Would you say that someone who shows up with expectations naturally has some sense of entitlement? Like, you've put your time and effort into welding the sidecar on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've done everything to carving the wood, each little chisel. Like, yeah, I would almost think that it's easy then to say, all right, I'm going to sell 50 or 40 t-shirts because I deserve to sell that, which is kind of entitled, right? Like,
right. And honestly, I've never felt that way.
Yeah.
Like, I've never been like, oh, people are going to buy the shit out of this.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
But no, I've never been like, okay, this is the one. I always try and make it so that it's like, ooh, this could go along well with this other image, and then people could choose from other varieties from what they want. It's all based on making someone else happy, but also in that, when I see someone buy my art, that in itself is fulfillment, because someone else is enjoying what I've created.
Yeah.
And that's fulfilling to me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's awesome. Would you say that a business idea is something that can just come to you, or do you have to be searching for it in some sense?
It definitely can just like pop in your head. And I would say to be prepared to work for it.
Yeah.
It doesn't just pop in your head and then it's there.
Yeah.
It starts on paper, and then you have to get the tools and the equipment and then prepare to build it. So blueprints and plans and, planners, like as far as lists of what you need, what materials you need, what you're looking for, like what's the outcome. So it definitely takes a lot of preparation to bring something into fruition. It doesn't just come together out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So it definitely can, my dream has come to life. So I definitely say that.
So let's say like there's another entrepreneur that has a very unique idea, but similar to your situation, that unique idea doesn't necessarily go home. Only the design and the print on the shirt does. Not saying that the design isn't unique, but seeing you print off of your sidecar is like just so cool. But should a random Joe Schmo buy or pay the premium for your unique setup versus just going to a typical t-shirt printing company? Like, how would you battle that? Or like, does it play into the culture of your company? Or
I definitely like to interact with each customer. I like to get to know the customer.
Yeah.
Because that's, an important part is to get to know each other instead of just being like, ooh, there's another, $20 right there, just standing there. And I'm like, that's not what it's about. Because obviously I've caught some sort of interest with the viewer and the customer. So I want to make it the best possible outcome for them. And I want to make the best impression with them. And I think that's also another part, is to get to know them and feel what they want. Yeah. Instead of being like, this is what I have. If you don't want it, you can go. Yeah. So that plays a big part in relating to the customer, but also the fact that it's a mobile press and it's only printed right then. Yeah. That is unique in itself, because you can't just go to the store and get a sidecar press tee. You have to be there at the spot and get your unique custom t-shirt only in that moment. Yeah. So I take that really seriously, in that this is their only chance to interact. So I want to make it the best possible way to get them and provide them with, if they really want a t-shirt, is to get them to get the best t-shirt from their eyes. It's
a whole experience. You're not just purchasing a t-shirt.
Right. It's not like, okay, you pay $25 for a t-shirt that you're going to wear. Yeah. It's like, I just got a t-shirt that was printed on a sidecar, and I don't know if I'll ever see him again.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So
that's cool. So you're kind of capitalizing on that uniqueness of
Right.
of your setup. Yeah.
So I was just in Florida this past weekend for a little band tour, and I was printing T-shirts. And this was a good example of how, while I was in Apalachicola, Florida, and I was printing T-shirts for my friend's band, I was like, yeah, these are only today custom T-shirts printed right now. And as soon as people grasped that idea that they were for this moment, they immediately were attracted to getting something that's so unique.
Yeah.
So that definitely, it builds me up, and it builds a lot of confidence.
So kind of off the heels of that, is it difficult to market, like just marketing your company, like whether it's online, Instagram, Facebook, whatever? Like, I kind of feel like it's one of those things that where you have to be in person and see, and it's like, wow, this is cool. But if you just post some pictures of it, like, does it really resonate as much? Does it get people to the festival to come see you? Have you had any trouble marketing?
Yeah, it's a part of what I'm working on always, is to get people to see it and get people to acknowledge that this is a once in a lifetime sort of event.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll catch me at the next event and then you'll see me again, but it's that fact that you could order it online, you could order it through the website, but if you were to be there in person and get it printed, I think that's what is so special about it.
Yeah. That's cool.
So marketing is definitely, I wouldn't say a challenge, but it's definitely something I'm working on.
I guess that's something that every business owner is constantly working on. Because, especially with something that, like the product or the service that is kind of one of those things that you're marketing on it being just tangible. Like, you can see it happen. I like watching you just roll the thing, like, and I like immediately pulled out my phone. I was like, I got to get this on Instagram. So it's kind of like, as soon as someone sees it, they spread the word tremendously. Did you always grow up around motorcycles and ride motorcycles?
Yeah. My dad always had a motorcycle, and then he had loud and fast cars, and he got rid of all of them when I was born. And unfortunately, the last time I got to ride on a motorcycle before I got my own was when I was 2 years old. My dad has a picture of me sitting on the gas tank at 2 years old, riding his motorcycle. I think it was a little dangerous, but he did it.
Wow. So from 2 years until you got your motorcycle.
Yeah, until I was 18. Yeah.
But you still kind of like just felt that kind of desire for fast and loud objects? Or?
Yeah, I had a Mustang and I souped it up, and so I just moved on to motorcycles from there. And I've always had a really, wide interest in how an engine works and how it like creates motion. And I think that also creates emotion. People are attached to these things. It's an inanimate object, but somehow when you click the start button, it fires right up. And I think that's what people really love about it, is that they're in control of this monster that they can take anywhere.
Did you grow up around any entrepreneurs, or is that something that
no, not necessarily. No, I always watched like car shows and motorcycle shows and went to car shows, and like being in that environment is what really turned me on to like start my own thing.
Really?
Yeah. Like being around fast cars, being around loud motorcycles and custom projects. It just really spiked an interest.
Yeah, I feel like, there's a good mix from everyone that I've had on the show so far. Is like half of them, their parents were entrepreneurs and it was just kind of handed down. Like they were around it, so they wanted to be in it. And then the other half, and myself included in this, like there was never really an entrepreneur like that I grew up around that was in my family. Everyone just kind of worked their day job and their corporate life, and that was that. So I think it's odd. I haven't quite figured out yet if it's like something that your parents have to hand down to you one way or another, like you through motors and cars, or if it's something that, regardless if your parents or brothers or sisters or whoever are entrepreneurs, you could still be one. And I don't know if-
Another addition to that is, my dad's a mechanic, so I've always helped him work on cars.
yeah.
So I've always had my hands greasy and, changing exhaust manifolds and working on cars and fixing the motors with him.
Yeah.
So I have always been in that realm. So that's influential for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, did he like have any issue with you going to art school? Or
yes.
Yeah?
Yes, he did. He was like, "Why do you want to be an artist if you've studied engineering?" And I told him, this is a much more creative path, and I think that if I could be successful in this, then I can be successful in any realm.
Yeah.
It's definitely a hard field.
But do you think you have to define success in a different way? Like, success meaning more fulfilled, not necessarily a dollar amount or, ownership of just things and objects or the nice house or whatever. Like, does someone who's more of an artist and a creative naturally define success in different ways?
I would define it as fulfillment. When you're done with the day, like, do you feel that you've accomplished what you wanted to in one day? And that drives me to be more creative and be more innovative in a way. Be like, stretch what you're trying to do, not just be like, oh, well, this guy did this design and I could just tweak it a little bit and it'd be fine and I'll have my own custom design. I want to go completely, like, scratch the board clean, start fresh and get something new out there, because that's how you push the boundaries. And it's definitely a challenge, but at the end of the day, fulfillment is what I'm seeking, and that is definitely a huge part of why I still do it.
Yeah, I mean, I consider myself to be like very big picture, like the big creative of our group. Like, it's all that to say, it's kind of hard for me to like focus on like the numbers or like the day to day, just daily operations and running and managing the technical business side of things. Is that hard for you as a creative to kind of focus on that?
Yes. I mean, I do have my goals, like we talked about earlier, I do have goals set, and that's what's pushing me to progress. Numerically, like, I'm always trying to make money. Obviously, that's what's keeping me in business.
But I mean, as far as like setting down and saying, all right, today I got to put in my receipts and do the accounting, because I assume you're like the one-man band. You're running this front to back, like it's just you. Right.
Yeah, I do take that time, and it's part of it. You take the good with the bad, but I don't see it as bad. I see it more as
it's necessary.
Yeah. Like, this is where you learn, okay, so I've spent this amount of money, and if I don't, come back on that, I need to think of something new to, work out. So I always, I'm doing the backyard stuff, emails, connecting with people and building relations. And that part, I don't feel like it's dreary. I feel like it's part of it, It's all part to make something happen.
And I think you have to have that look on it, because, I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs starting anything can get, sit down and have to do something they don't necessarily know or don't want to do, like the accounting or whatever. And that just beats them up like for the rest of the day. So like, I think there's a very practical way to approach it, though, whether you set aside like, all right, this 2-hour block of time is what I'm going to do, my accounting. And that's all I'm going to do is in that 2 hours, and I'm going to move on and focus on more creative stuff.
Yeah, that's honestly, that's exactly how I do it. I'll be like, Sunday mornings, I'll wake up early, type in everything and keep records of all of my events, previous events, and look at my calendar for the future and prepare for that, and take all things into account.
So I think your relationship with your day job too is interesting, because your day job is t-shirt.
Right.
Right.
It's
so like
more t-shirts.
And do you like doing that, or do you want to kind of eventually make Sidecar Press the full-time gig? Or?
Eventually, I'd like to see a fleet of these sidecars going all around the U.S., even overseas, having some overseas and being able to like coordinate with them and say, hey, we're going to Barcelona today at this huge festival and we're going to be printing t-shirts off the sidecars today. That's where I envision it. Maybe 5 to 10 years is have an army of sidecar presses. Working at Danger Press as a day job, it's definitely inspiring because you see what's new, what's coming out next, and like where people are pushing their art direction. It definitely gives me a lot of practice as well, how to look professional, how to present myself in a good way, because we have a lot of clients that come in that are, very important. So it's our job to do the best possible outcome for them and also for myself. I want to produce good work. I don't want to just be like, oh, that's good enough, because it's never good enough. Right.
Totally. Yeah. When I worked my day job, it was like just absolutely miserable. I hated my day job and like was just saving money every month. Like, at this date, I'm jumping. I'm done with this day job, and I wasn't taking anything from it. And I think over time, and especially since doing these episodes, I've talked to maybe 2 or 3 people that their day job is kind of the same thing that they're doing in their side hustle, or it's helping them build their side hustle. They're extracting a lot of information from their day job, and it's made me kind of rethink my stance on day jobs, because the whole essence of the show was, motivating those people that are working 9 to 5 realize that they can build their own business between 7 p.m. and 2 a.m. And they can get out of their day job and stuff. But now I'm starting to see that day jobs aren't necessarily always a bad thing. And even if your day job is a bad thing right now and completely just discouraging you from being fulfilled, maybe you should switch your day job to something that's more along the lines of your field, or someone who understands that you have a side thing going on that you're passionate about.
Well, that's not to say that, when we're printing 10,000 t-shirts of the same exact thing all day. Yeah. That's when it gets a little boring, but you take those days in and, take those 10 hours to think about other things while you look at the same picture over and over. Yeah. But that, there's always good things to take out of it. It's always a learning process for me. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, as we close out here, I just kind of want to give people where to find you. So you can look into that camera and hashtag it up or whatever you want to say. Okay. Instagram, website.
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram at Sidecar Press Co. And also I have a website at sidecarpressco.com.
Any festivals coming up? Or
yes. Next 2 weekends from now, I'll be at Brother Moto. We're putting together a little pop-up shop, printing t-shirts off the sidecar. And then in May, I'll be at Wheels Through Time in Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, wow. I love Asheville. Yeah. You said that's May?
In May, yeah.
Hopefully I'll be around so I can come up there.
Make it out.
It's been a few years since I've been to Asheville, but it's one of my favorite cities.
It's so fun. Quaint, and it's so like vibey, It's really quiet, but also like really homey.
Yeah, I love it. Have you ever been to the Biltmore Estate up there?
I haven't.
It's a huge mansion. If you're into like design and architecture and stuff like that, you should go. It is pretty unbelievable how they've developed this just massive structure of a house in the 1800s, and they like custom built train tracks going up to build, because there are no cars or anything back then. So,
really?
Yeah. If you have some free time, I would take a few hours and visit the Biltmore house, and
I definitely will put that on my list.
It is incredible. I've gone there several times, and you can do different tours. They switch it up, like around the holidays they do different things, so it's pretty cool. So
cool
little town.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check out the Biltmore.
So any other last words or insight or motivation, just anything that you think we're missing here?
I would just say that if you've got a passion and if you got a dream, I think that it's a huge part in playing your role as a person, that you've got something unique inside you. And you definitely need to get that out in the world. And I think that is part of what makes this world great, is bringing everything unique and showing people what you have.
That's awesome. I think that's great to end on. So, Tony,
Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much,
It's
Randall.
been great talking to you. And guys, be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Google Play, and Stitcher. Leave us a review. That will help us continue this podcast and keep bringing you this wonderful content. Thank you so much, and tune in next time.